Okay, we're going to begin. We're going to resume where we left off on nudity, pornography, and obscenity. And I told you that these three are three distinct concepts with an increasing level of exposure of sexual activities. And nudity is not illegal. Pornography is not illegal. What's made illegal is obscenity. Right? And obscenity is defined in terms of these three elements. Let me read the legal definition. Here we go. So let me enlarge for you. Whether the average person applying contemporary community standards would find that the work taken as a whole appeals to the prurient interest. What is prurient interest? Sexual interest. Sexual in the sense of erotic, in the sense of decadent, in the sense of being stimulating, right? The second element is whether the work depicts or describes in a patently offensive way sexual conduct specifically defined by the applicable state law. So it has to explicitly show sexual activities. And the third element is interesting, whether the work taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Now, you should think about why this third element was added there. Okay. Now, distributing obscene material is a crime. You can actually serve jail time for distributing obscene material. But we've learned in the beginning of the semester that there is overarching theory of freedom of expression. Okay, the principle of freedom of expression, that of clear and present danger. Okay, remember? An expression, speech by itself does not create an external effect. If you push somebody off a cliff, your action includes within it the result. You cannot push somebody over the cliff without actually pushing him over the cliff, right? The action already includes the harmful result. But if you tell someone else to push another person to jump off the cliff, or push the person off the cliff, depending on whether your communication partner follows your instruction or not, will not have, or it may not have desired harmful effect of pushing the person over the cliff. So speech by itself does not create harm. Well, speech may create a psychological harm when you are insulted. You feel mental stress. But even that does not really come from the speech itself. It comes from context, right? We talked about how blacks in the United States call one another niggers without offending any one of them. But it is when whites call blacks nigger that it becomes a huge issue. Because those types of speech strengthen and extend and solidify the discriminatory structure that existed in the society, the discriminatory history that has oppressed racial minorities in the past. And those speeches incite continuing discrimination against racial minorities. So it's not the words themselves, right? It's not the words themselves that cause harm. It's the context surrounding it. Close female friends share their affection calling one another dykes. And dyke is a terrible term, epithet. The worst epithet you can throw against female homosexual person. Yet those words can become words of affection. Same thing amongst among friends, you use epithets in an affectionate manner for the purpose of sharing affection. So it's not the text that matters, it's the context. So that's why we said that hate speech hate speech can be properly regulated. That's why we established that it is okay, it is ethical to regulate hate speech because it has the clear and present danger of generating discriminatory tendencies and violent tendencies against the minorities who can easily become targets of discrimination and violence in a majority-ruled society. So it's not the words themselves, it's not the text for which speech is regulated. It is the context, it is the surroundings that are likely to cause harmful effects. Let's look at obscenity. You know what obscenity is? Who here has not seen obscene material in your lives? Raise your hands if you have not seen, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Obscene material abounds in the internet, sometimes in the books, sometimes in the libraries. And what is depicted there? Sexual activity. Now, what harm is there, right, in distributing depiction of sexual activities? Now, there are lots of depictions of illegal activities that you can find in movies, on the internet, and in books. Depictions of people killing one another, slashing one another's bodies. Blood splattered all over the place. In some movies, you can see, human eyes being gouged out, right? You see, like children and women, hundreds of them locked into a bus being blown up. Body parts thrown everywhere. These are all criminal activities. Now, showing those criminal activities is not obscene. It's not considered obscene. It's not banned. Yes, I know that some governments around the world have a higher standard, but they don't actually punish showing showing depictions of violence. Showing explosions of nuclear arms, nuclear bombs, that's not illegal. What is in sex? What is sex? Sex in itself is not illegal. Actually, it is encouraged by the government to guarantee the existence of future generations. And yet, the law of obscenity is banning explicit depiction of this perfectly legal and socially sound and desired activity. And it doesn't have any harm that you can conceive as having come from depicting sexual activity. What harm is there? Anyone? Question? Comment? Does exposure to explicit sexual material cause something on your brain? I'm sure it has done so for some people because, yes, violent material on TV, depictions of violence, of course, will have both contrary effects. It will have the effect of showing to the audience that violence is unethical. Whoever causes a violent crime will be punished. That's how usually the movies end, right? Bad people who kill other innocent people usually get killed themselves or otherwise punished. So there is a sound effect, right? There's a positive effect of giving people, injecting people with ethical values about violence. But at the same time, the more people are exposed to violent scenes, their level of acceptance to violence may be lowered. Who knows? The question is whether you can punish depiction of a violent crime when the material may or may not have the harmful effects. If there's a clear and present danger that you will have harmful effects, we can punish those depictions consistently with the principle of freedom of speech. But if it doesn't, you cannot. Let's look at obscenity, sexual material. So what kind of a harmful effect has, what kind of clear and present danger, what kind of harmful effect has clear and present danger of arising from distributing or viewing explicit sexual material? Anyone? Yes? Okay, can you elaborate?
During exam period, if one of my friends showed me this kind of movie, like sexual movie.
You cannot focus on exam?
Yeah, the images might come in my brain.
Okay. Well, if you are studying hard at night and if your roommate talks about going out to get drinks or ordering in fried chicken, have you guys done that in Korea? You know how famous, how available fried chicken is in Korea, right? Just with the pickup of a phone, you can get fried chicken in 5 minutes. All right, that's exaggeration, like 10 minutes. And beer, right? Hey, if your friend does that, you cannot focus. Is that enough reason to punish him for, sharing his desire to have drinks or fried chicken?
Food, clothes, and sleeping are important to everyone.
And sex is not?
It's private.
Well, yes, food, clothing are all important, but so is sex, right? I mean, it's not just that it's objectively important, but the desires for food, the desires for clothing, the need for physical shelter are all important, but how about sexual desires? Are they also very strong? Are they as strong as desire for food and other things? I think so, yes.
Desire escalates to addiction, and then addiction would lead to a tendency to act out what you've already witnessed, and then you start to act it out because you begin to accept and start to accept something so abnormal. So you start watching it, it becomes addiction, and it progresses to something more serious.
Okay. So addiction, she mentioned, sorry, probably you guys could not hear. She said, watching too much sex on screen can cause addiction. There are other addictions as well, right? Alcohol addiction, cigarette, drug. But depicting those activities, drinking, smoking, snuffing on TV is never banned, right? Showing those things is not a crime. When we know that addiction to those activities or the risk of addiction to those activities is much higher than addiction to sex. Why is that? Now, some countries, for this reason, some countries restrict the definition of obscenity only to, as you, Jennifer, said, depiction of abnormal sexual activities, bestiality, having sex with animals, rape, having sex against the partner's wishes, incest. having sex with, your family. So those illegal activities, those illegal sexual activities, when those illegal sexual activities are depicted, that is considered obscene and is banned. So there is that ethical debate. Sorry. There's this ethical debate on whether we really should restrict, narrow the scope of obscenity only to depiction of illegal sexual activities, or should just keep the broad scope as it is, so that explicit depiction of all sexual activities are banned. Because illegal activities, if you watch too much illegal activities, yes, your acceptance level will go up, right? If you watch a movie where a girl is depicted as enjoying being raped, you may get a false sense. You may get false sense of what is allowed and what is not. And your acceptance level to illegal activities can very well change. So the US and Europe has a very narrow definition of obscenity, where only the illegal, explicit depiction of illegal activities are considered obscene and banned. But Korea and many other countries still maintain a broad definition of obscenity, while all sexual activities, including lawful ones, right? Depictions of lawful ones are punished and banned. And now we can come back to this question, why we have this requirement, right? That the work taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Now, so you can have like explicit sexual material. I mean, the material can have explicit sexual activities on it, and yet it will be considered not obscene. It will be considered not obscene if it has scientific, literary, or social value. Okay? I mean, you can have a video clip of 3 people having threesome. If that has literary, artistic value, it will not be considered obscene. You can look at the pictures of erect penis going into vagina. If that has some educational, literary, artistic value, it will not be considered obscene. Why is that? I mean, have you seen a law like this? I mean, not many people know this, right? Have you seen a law where, okay, you shouldn't do such and such, but if it has artistic value, then it's okay? I mean, how about serial murderer who thinks that his art is killing people one after another, right? How about con artist? There's the term con artist, right? Defrauding others is their art. Bank robbers who perfect their skills so that they can rob a bank within what, 90 seconds before the police cars come. It's their art. And yet they are all punished no matter how much value is built into their activities. Why do we have this exceptional requirement that, hey, it's all illegal, but if it has scientific and artistic value, it's okay? Right? So, the law of obscenity has two exceptional features, if you think about it. The one, it violates the general principle of freedom of expression, freedom of speech, that speech can be regulated only for the harmful content, right? Only for the clear and present danger of creating harmful content. Because depiction of seemingly lawful activities, no matter how explicit, cannot have some unique harmful effects that they can be punished for. Right? So that's one exceptional feature. The second exceptional feature is this requirement that if it has value, no matter how explicit it is, it will be okay. Some of you are looking at me like with disbelief. So let me show you some pictures, explicit pictures. Oops. Okay. All right, the origin of the word is by Gustav Kuocw in 1866. This picture is hanging in a public museum in Paris, France. And even children, elementary school students can view these pictures. Now, this is not really a depiction of sexual activity, but because it has artistic value, there is no chance that this will be considered obscene. I can even show you the explicit depiction of actual sex that will not be considered obscene because of its social value. Okay. There are medical textbooks, there are sex education books that teach you how to put on a condom. Now, to teach you how to put on a condom, the books will have to teach you what erection is. And they have actual pictures of erection, right? And show how the condom can be put on. It has educational value, so that also is not considered obscene. because of value that it has. All right. Any question or comment about pornography, nudity, and obscenity? No? Okay, good. All right. Now we're going to talk about trademark now. Okay. I thought about just cutting it, not covering it. Then I remembered that many of you raised questions about trademark when we talked about copyright and patent. So I want to cover it. So what is trademark? Trademark, okay. All right, this question came too late. Trademark is a sign of a producer. Okay, so there's this one, famous coffee company that began selling coffee, and to let people know that which products are theirs, right? They leave exactly the same mark. And it is Starbucks here, right? And if other coffee producers and because Starbucks coffee is so popular, they sell at certain prices that are higher than other coffee. And other coffee producers cannot use the Starbucks trademark. So the purpose of trademark is to preventing fraud. It's to prevent other producers impersonating as the trademark holder. So if there is so here is one, trademark violation. If you look at the trademark on the left, it has a similar color, it has similar names, Star Preya. It's got 2 stars, 2 circles, 2 concentric circles, and the mythical figure in the center as well. In the original Starbucks, it's showing a mythical figure, a mermaid. On the left side, it's showing again a mythical figure, a Greek goddess or Greek monster. Okay. And the court found the trademark on the left as infringing the original because it has danger of deceiving people into believing that they may be buying from Starbucks. It's hard to believe, but there can be people who don't know enough details about Starbucks trademark and can get confused. So confusion, right? Confusion with the original mark is a keystone of trademark infringement. Right? All right, let's establish that. Now, these are also these were also found to be trademarks, trademark infringement. Do you guys like Korean beer? Do you know Korean beer brand? Cass. Yeah? So original Cass is on the left. The one in the middle, what does that say? It's CD22. And they morphed the letters so that it looks like Cass. How about the one on the right? Actually, the one in the middle is CA22. All right? The one on the right is CD55. They were all found to be confusing and therefore violating trademark. Now, I'm not going to go into details, but one rule that you have to remember is that just remember why we have trademark law, right? To prevent fraud. So using trademark itself without intending to defraud others is not a trademark infringement. For instance, the one wearing Lakers, is that Lakers? Cap. Stand up. Okay, can you turn around? All right, he's wearing a Lakers cap. Does his action has any risk of confusing you that he may be a scout from Lakers, or he may be a Lakers player, or he is selling something that Los Angeles Lakers is selling? No. Okay? He's using the trademark to look good. By the way, it looks good. You can sit down. But use of trademark itself is not a violation unless it's used to denote, used to represent the source of the product. Okay? He's not wearing the cap to tell people that he is from LA Lakers, or his actions are on behalf of Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, my smartphone on the back has bitten out Apple sign. I'm using it because I'm carrying it, but I'm not using it to, confuse anybody about whom I'm working for and what my services or what my words represent. Okay? So only when it is used to denote, used to represent the source of the product or service that's being sold, it is trademark infringement. So, okay, let me ask you a question. You see a person drinking Coca-Cola in a movie. Or as you made the video, one of the characters in your video was drinking Coca-Cola with the emblem fully showing, fully showing. Did you need to get consent from the Coca-Cola company to put that trademark in your video? No, because you are not using it to confuse people that this video is made by Coca-Cola, right? Or maybe made by Coca-Cola or some affiliates. Now, there are times that trademarks on your clothing may be used to denote, may be used to represent the source of the services that those people are providing. Okay, security guards. Do you know the number one security company in Korea? Actually, I don't know either. I think it's Secom. Security, computer Secom, right? Secom. And the security guards working for Secom all wear the uniforms, right? With a trademark. And if a competing security company dress up their employees with the Secom uniforms, that may confuse the clients, that may confuse the customers about where the service is coming from. People may be confused that, these security services are coming from Secom. Yes? That's trademark violation, right? Okay. Now, trademark see. All right. Okay, maybe not a good one on this book. So trademark is about truth in commerce or candor in commerce about the source of the product and services. Okay, it's about honesty, right? About where the products and services come from. Now, let's say so and because that's the goal, the marks that may confuse people about the source of the products and services are considered infringing. Okay? Now, look at it this way. Think about this. Samsung makes smartphones. And let's say a pizza shop opens in front of the college, in front of the school gate, and it's named Samsung Pizza. And it does not use the blue trademark of Samsung phones. They just call themselves Samsung Pizza. Is that trademark violation? No, right? People will not be confused by that, right? Okay, all right. That's why Samsung Chicken can exist without being sued by Samsung Electronics. Okay? Why? Because people will not be confused. I mean, there is really no chance of being confused because they are just selling completely different things. Right? They are not, and also Samsung Chicken has no really, I mean, when people look for Samsung phones, they look for great phones. They don't look for great chicken, right? So using the label Samsung really doesn't help the chicken place, right? So for there to be trademark infringement, remember, it has to be used to represent the source of the products and services, right? Okay, that are being sold, that are in commerce. And also, it has to be in the area, in the same industry where the original trademark is used. Okay? So there are tons of Samsung barbershop, there is Samsung bakery, none of them violates trademark of Samsung, the handphone, the smartphone maker. All right. Then, that's not the end of the story. If you did a reading, there will be a concept of dilution. Now, Samsung or the companies like Samsung began to think that, oh, we should prevent other people from using using our trademark even in different industries. Because, you know what? When people say Apple, right? Okay, let's use some other example. Let's use the example Mercedes, right? Oh, all right, let's use BMW, okay? Whenever people see the term BMW, they imagine a great car, an expensive car. But if, like, a karaoke is opened under the name BMW Karaoke or BMW 노래방, or BMW Chicken is opened and BMW Barbershop is opened next to that, and BMW Public Bath is opened right after, no longer BMW will be the sign of quality and luxury. Yes, people will never think that, those things, barbershop, pizza shop, are really coming from the car maker, the German car maker. But the value that we built into the term BMW, the three letters, will be diluted as the more and more companies are operating under that name, even in different industries, so different that there is no chance of confusion, right? Even if there is no confusion, there can be dilution, right? So all these big companies, they lobbied around the world to pass a law against the dilution. So if a trademark is notorious, which means like famous, really famous, right? Then it can be, if it's famous enough, even using the mark in a non-confusingly different industry or in non-confusingly different market is considered infringing or considered diluting at least, and is banned. So, all right, what are your best handbag brands? Handbags. Chanel, Louis Vuitton. I mean, not that you have them, but if you have money, what will you buy, right? Well, the reason that you don't see Louis Vuitton chicken or Chanel 노래방 is because of the law against the dilution, right? And here is an ethical question, right? There can be so many letters and words or word combinations in the word. Just because you began making some cars under the word combination, or letter combination BMW, can you really monopolize the use of that letter combination, right? What if some other person's name is, like Barbara Mary Walter, and her initial is BMW. Does she not have the right to use the letters BMW for selling, I don't know, pizza and chicken, right? Can you really monopolize the use of certain marks, the use of certain letters, just because you have built value into it for the first time? So some people really hate the law against dilution and see it as a conspiracy of multinational companies. Okay, so we learned about dilution, right? So we learned about trademark, we learned about dilution, and now I'm going to talk about internet domain name, because internet domain name these days became more important than the trademarks that they have offline, right? Okay, Samsung can, go after all these trademark infringers on Samsung, on the trademark infringement of these handphone makers that make, that sell under the confusing names like Samsung or Samsan. There is a Chinese handphone maker named Samsan, I know. With the same blue letters, right? They can do that, but if no matter how faithfully they go after, no matter how religiously they go after trademark infringers, if Samsung company doesn't have the internet domain name Samsung.com, what will happen? Whoever has Samsung.com will be able to make tons of money just by having some products available on that website. Imagine someone who has domain name iPhone.com or Android.com, right? There is so much value. The value comes from, people's linguistic habits, right? When you want to get some information, when you want to buy a smartphone or Samsung smartphone, your instinct tells you to go to Samsung.com. Right? Without really checking who owns the domain name, right? So there's one person who took advantage of people's linguistic habit. So back in early 90s, there was a petroleum company, Exxon, and another one called Mobil. Exxon Mobil. It still exists. Okay. All right, ExxonMobil. Okay. So so early 90s, Exxon and Mobil were two separate companies, and they merged. And they announced that they'll merge, right? One person in the US, as soon as he saw the announcement of merger, he bought for $5. He bought for $5 a domain name ExxonMobil. Guess for how much he sold the domain name to the merged company? $35 million. The new company had just so much to gain from procuring that domain name ExxonMobil. Right? Because people's linguistic habits tell you that if they want some information about this great new merged company ExxonMobil, they'll type in ExxonMobil.com. Right? Again, the multinational companies are, of course, they can have their ways if they see something they don't like. So they lobbied again around the world in the 90s to pass a law and pass a rule, both. Pass a law against bad faith registration of domain names. So you cannot register a domain name just to prevent some companies, right? Some companies or some individuals who have a name, right? Who have names that are similar sounding to that domain name that you just registered. Okay? It's like you cannot register domain name TomCruise.com and try to sell it to Tom Cruise for $10 million. Now, if your name is Tom Cruise, that's a different matter. Then because you have a legitimate right, that is a good faith use, right? So if this guy, you know, if a baby is born and you wanna have a chance of registering a domain name after some, you know, big companies or big celebrities, you can name your baby after those names. If you name your baby Tom Cruise, yes, you can register TomCruise.com, and if Tom Cruise really wants it, he will buy from you. That's good faith use. Right? Another good faith use is when you have some important reasons to use that name. For instance, a consumer advocacy. Let's say you hate Samsung products because they explode in your face. You can register IHateSamsung.com, and that's not bad faith registration. And domain name registration is dealt with differently. Domain name registration is done by this entity, worldwide entity called ICANN, for the top level domains like .com, .org, .gov, .net. The ones in the ones that end with like .kr, there are national agencies that sell those domain names. Those are top level domain names too, but that is administered by other ones. But anyway, those registrations are a different things from the trademark registration, but you can see how the companies, the multinational companies, lobbying efforts are paying off to protect their interest in the trademarks and in their names. Okay, any question, comment about this? Okay, well, we still have 10 minutes, so let me take one at a time. All right. Okay. Just these questions, all right? No more. All right. Hyunjin asks, would child pornography be an example of obscenity? The definition of obscenity is something that is foul, filthy, or impure, and in pornography it applies offensive materials that are not suitable for people due to depiction of normal activities that are against social harmony. Would it not be also obscene for normal pornography, which material shows women as sexual objects, since it may excite defensive reaction from others? Well, you are asking like two different questions. All right, no more questions, please. I'll run out of time. All right, child pornography. I gave you reading about child pornography. Didn't have time to talk about it, but child pornography is a completely different thing from obscenity, right? Child pornography is depiction of any child in an erotic posture. Now, child pornography is banned not because it depicts sexual activities, but because it harms the children that are depicted. Right? A child who is depicted in nude, right? It doesn't have to be sexual. The child, we may regret it, the child may be made fun of, the child will have trauma that's lasting beyond his or her adult years. So yes, child pornography is illegal, but for completely different reason. Not for depicting sexual activities, but to protect the psychological well-being of the child. That's why there is an article in your reading that says child depicted, the virtual child pornography law should not exist, because if you look at animation and cartoons, there is really no child that's being harmed, right? So child pornography law should not be applied against movies or cartoons where there is no victim that's being harmed. Read that. And thank you for asking this question. Actually, I was supposed to cover that as well. And, pornography depicting women as sexual objects. Yes, some people argue that pornography itself is hate speech against women. But majority of people don't think that way. So that's why pornography is still legal. But many people, many feminists have argued that pornography showing women in subservient sexual roles is hate speech. Think about that. There is some argument, some value in that argument. Park Sang-yu, he's asking that the concept of prurient interest or inhumaneness, these are all too, in his words, dynamic. Well, so some people argue that obscenity, the law against obscenity should disappear because you cannot draw a clear line between what's obscene and what's not obscene. Okay, some people argue that. You know what? I don't think I can answer all these questions like right now. I'll write them. So after Sang-yu's questions, I'll write up the answers to the remaining questions. Any question or comment? Any question or comment about the exam? All right. Yes, yes. So whatever I talked about in the lecture, right? So if I have time, I'll watch the videos again, right? I know that some of the readings are broader than what I talked about in the lecture, okay? If I didn't talk about it in the lecture, it's not going to be on the exam. But I did my best trying not to give you more material than necessary for background, right? So, try to do the reading, try to watch the videos. And, it's open book. Okay? Completely open book. You can bring whatever you like, except you cannot use a communication device. Okay? Right. Any question?
So you're going to have like here?
Yes, we're going to have it here. All right. 33 questions, short answers. Okay? And I'll give you a part of a list of words that you can choose from. Right? Not that all the words will be used, okay? But I'll give you a list of things to choose from. It's not a multiple choice question. It will be short answer questions, but you will be limited in the words that you can use. Okay? Any other question?
Is there any case to talk about during the exam, or just like really short answers?
To write your positions.
I mean, like, are you going to give us like cases during the exam and discuss about this like cases?
We're not going to do it that way. The exams will be broad enough to show your grasp of ethical issues, but I'm not going to ask you to like argue ethical positions. There are just too many students and only one teacher and one TA to grade. So okay.
It's going to be a straightforward question.
Of course not. Professors never give straightforward questions. Yes.
How much marks does the exam consist?
What?
Like marking system, like video, 20 marks.
It's all in the announcement. Read it. Yeah. Okay. And again, remember so next Thursday, the exam, On 13th, December 13th, there will be video presentation. All the members of your team should come in person and be here to present the video, right? Present the video meaning just, put it on and answer any questions that I may have, the audience may have. So because we have 30 teams and each team will at least need like 5 minutes, we will use 2 hours and a half, right? 150 minutes, okay? So mark your hours from 2 to 4:30, right? Be prepared to be here between 2 and 4:30 on 13th. If you have a class, okay, leave, right? But if you don't, stay in. Yes?
Do we have to remember all the law?
It's open book, so you don't have to memorize anything, okay? If I were you, I'll print out all the readings that I gave you on the blackboard and just bring them. Okay? All right. No more question. Okay, don't come to me after this. I'm going to run out. No question? All right. Thank you and see you on 13th.